going. Good morning. Quantum Liberty Day 31. Hope this day finds you well. There's your water birdies. Today on the phone we have Ruby from Texas, is a high school student. And Ruby's uncle, Paulie, passed away from COVID-19. So this is a really wonderful uncle who is always helping others and taught her to always help others too. I think what we'll tap on today, unfortunately for many people, is a common experience with within the United States and around the world. So I was thinking that let's start tapping, Ruby. So first of all, let's give thanks for our lives and for each other and for this beautiful day that we woke up and that we have homes. There's people in the wildfires who've lost all their homes, and people who've lost lives in COVID-19. It's a very, very, and people who've lost lives with Black Lives Matter, and the police who are some not trained correctly or have crossed over that line to be more violent than good that they started out to be. I grew up with a chief of police as an uncle, and the police station was always such a fun place to go. My cousins and I would go to the police station and go ask them questions like, I don't know, like if you stole a bubble gum from like the 2-cent jar, would you get arrested? And how long would you stay in jail? But they always had donuts there and gave us donuts. So it's so devastating to see, just devastating. And I grew up right outside of New York, so my diversity of friends was something I'm always grateful for. I never dreamed of skin color as being anything different than just they're your friends. Everybody's your friends. So what I'd like to tap on today, Ruby, is because COVID-19 is going to be with us for a while, and we are going to see people who do things that are not what we would expect them to be doing to prevent the spread. And I see and hear your anger at seeing, be tapping along here, okay? I see and hear your anger that people are not doing socially distancing, that they're not washing their hands before and after, that they're not wearing masks outside where they're supposed to be in your area to prevent the spread of such a devastating and deathly disease. So let's tap on that, because the EFT, the tapping, it blocks the firing. When you're tapping on these 5,000-year-old ancient meridian endpoints, you are, in effect, blocking the firing, some of the firing, to the amygdala, which is the fight-flight system of your body. And that will send the oxygen. If the amygdala is firing, it will send the oxygen down to the legs and the arms where you can run from danger. But instead, when you're tapping on it, you can have the image of danger, for instance, catching COVID-19 or seeing people without masks and spreading COVID-19 until we have it contained. Then you can have that image, and instead of having the neurons sent to the amygdala, you will instead not have the neurons be sending the amygdala to send oxygen to the arms and legs, but instead it will go to the oxygen will go to the prefrontal cortex, where instead you can think of the next best thing to do. For instance, maybe you could put a sign or a picture of Uncle Polly, a big one, like by your front door or someplace prominent, and say number in America 176,243, right? So make him like a number, but put his face there. And then also write, please wear a mask, please stand 6 feet apart, R.I.P. my Uncle Polly. I just came up with that last night, and it might have been because I was tapping on this and thinking about this story of yours, like how heartbreaking it is, and I fully understand that. But what we really have to do, I think, is come at this from a place of love and compassion. So what we can do is know that the CDC and the World Health Organization and Johns Hopkins, who else did I read? National Geographic has a beautiful article about how we could contain COVID-19 in like 6 weeks, they're thinking. Oh, and also Dr. Anthony Fauci. They all talk about the science about containing it through wearing masks, because there's 3 things you need to know. One is it's something you don't want to give, right? It's something you don't want to get. And then also it's airborne. So wearing a mask is, and it's deadly, as you know. So why we're tapping on this is because our brains, when they are introduced to a trigger, which could be, like for you, Ruby, was seeing people walking around without mask at the beach, right? It was busy at the beach, and that pissed you off, as it ought to, because there's a rule in the county that you wear a mask outside. So it was like, well, what's going on here? My uncle just died. And so what you want to do is you want to tap on this grief and this anger, not to avoid feeling that, but to be more clear about what you can do that is the next best right thing to do, that would speak to people in volumes, both about your grief and about the personalness of it. This is not just numbers. It's not. It's people, and that's what our governor keeps on saying too, which makes it's so important to not be a number, a death. Like, oh, we had 969 deaths yesterday, every day in California alone, right? So we want it to be a personal thing, and we want to share our story, because people need to know that it is deadly. So I was thinking that one of the reasons that, and let's continue tapping, really. So I was thinking about the tapping on the grief, because our emotions, when we experience seeing somebody without a mask close to us, that's going to be very triggering. And you told me it's very triggering. So, so what we can do is speak up and use your gut instinct, because some people might not be ready to hear this, but you might say, my uncle just died of COVID-19. Could you give me 6 feet? I'm just devastated. My uncle just died. Could you wear your mask correctly? So I think that what is important to know is that when the brain receives a trigger, like seeing somebody close to you, the brain diminishes its blood flow in the prefrontal cortex too. So the capillaries are flooded with oxygenated blood, right, all of a sudden. And then there's a stress, this trigger that comes in. And within 14 seconds, that blood flow is diminished by 70%. So you're not getting not only are you not getting the oxygen that is getting sent to the legs and the arms, right, instead of, because your amygdala is going, run, right, which is a good thing because you don't want to be near or close to somebody without a mask and within 6 feet. We want to create safe bubbles. So I think we're going to tap on this as we talk, okay? Inside the eye. We'll start, oh no, we can't do that yet. We have to do the setup statement. So back to the karate chop point. So we want to keep that blood flow going to our prefrontal cortex instead of the arms and the legs. We don't want to be running. We want to stay in a very focused brain about what the next right thing to do is, because this pandemic is very triggering for many people. Not only grief, but also fear, and we want to stay focused on what we have to do to get through it in the right way, doing the next right thing. So we found with the tapping that what this does, this is a psychological reversal point right here, 5,000-year-old acupuncture point. And we found that in the blocking of the firing to the amygdala that we then can prevent the fight-flight and help to reduce the trigger. So we can actually move through these emotions of grief and maybe share them with others. All right, and then you won't be as triggered right away. You won't have that knee-jerk response. All right, my dear. Again, so sorry for your loss. Repeat after me. You're my echo voice. Okay, so everyone's tapping and repeat after me. Even though I have this fear of catching COVID-19, I deeply and completely love, accept, trust, and honor myself exactly as I am. Even though I have this sadness about catching COVID-19 and seeing others pass away from it, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this fear and this sadness about catching COVID-19 and seeing others pass away from it, who I love, I deeply and completely love, accept, trust, honor, forgive, and respect myself exactly as I am. Inner eye, this sadness. Outer eye, this sadness at seeing people pass that I love. Under the eye, very, very, very gently here, like you're tapping on a cloud. If it hurts at all, just lighten up your tap. All right, we're going to stay here for a little while right now. Even though I have these triggers from seeing people without mask, coming within 6 feet, not washing their hands, I know I can protect myself by doing those things and sharing my story about people I know with COVID-19. This sadness, this fear, these triggers of COVID-19, these triggers of COVID-19 I'm listening to these triggers. I feel these triggers of COVID-19. I am me with these triggers of COVID-19. I am me without these triggers of COVID-19. I honor all of me. I honor that my brain responds. It's natural. I hold it within me. I hold it without in me. I hold it without being in me. I am me with these triggers. I am me without these triggers. Let's stay for a little while on the outer eye point, and we're tapping on this little bone right here on the outside of the eye. All right, close your eyes and keep on tapping. Imagine yourself radiant health. Imagine the future you in radiant health. Envision that beautiful, beautiful ruby, glowing with health, feeling the health, thinking with radiant health, perceiving with radiant health, talking with radiant health, walking with radiant health. Hold that picture of radiant health and open your eyes. Under the eye, I am that radiant health. Under the nose, I am me with radiant health. Under the chin point, I am me without radiant health. Under the collarbone, I am me with COVID-19. Integrated in my environment, on the earth, and in me. Under the arm, I am me with radiant health, without COVID-19. Integrated here on earth. Top of the head, I see myself with radiant health. Inner eyebrow, I see the triggers. Outer eye, I see the triggers of COVID-19 clearly. Under the eye, I see the triggers that cause the feelings. Under the nose, I know where to tap. Karate chop point, I tap on the points that help me feel better when I'm being triggered by people, places, things that bring up emotions, strong emotions around people doing things that don't respect recent science that protects us from giving or catching COVID-19. Back to the collarbone point. I am me with COVID-19 in radiant health. Under the arm, I am me without COVID-19 in radiant health. Top of the head, I am me with or without COVID-19 in radiant health. Inner eye, I walk in radiant health. Outer eye, I talk in radiant health. Under the eye, I see the radiant vision of health for me. Under the nose, I see the vision of radiant health for the planet. Chin, I see the vision of radiant health for the earth. Collarbone, I talk in radiant health. Under the arm, I perceive in radiant health. Top of the head, I am that person with radiant health, with or without COVID-19, in mind, body, and spirit. I am healthy. I am that person in radiant health. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Be well, my dear.